it. Genesis 4:3. In the process of time, it came to pass that came brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto God. Something happened. When I came to this place, I stopped. What made the man that the mother claimed to be the person that should be right image of God? What changed him? What disfigured him? What brought him to be a murderer? What made him to not only be a murderer, to murder his brother? It is in the process of time. Man is supposed to be processed by God. When a man is not processed by God, man will be processed by time. The time we are now is evil time. That is why the Bible says, as a child of God, we shall redeem the time, for the days are evil. Our children are growing. You are growing. What has suddenly made you a murderer? It is not because it is from your blood. It is because of time. When people are removed from hearing the sound word of God, when people are removed from following the will of God, the time they are living will transform them into killers and murderers. Hear me, child of God. Cain, in the process of time, changed. When he changed, he didn't know he has changed. Time changed him. The time that people can do anything to make money. The time that people can sell their father, their mother, their children, their brother, their sister to get money. The time. Bible says that as they went and offered sacrifice, the sacrifice of Cain was rejected and that of Abel was accepted. Something happened because he had changed. In Genesis chapter 4 verse 8, Bible said, as they were talking, look at it, Cain talked with Abel, his brother. I looked up, I began to cry. Cain did not kill Abel because he was stronger than him. Cain did not kill Abel because Abel was weak. Cain killed Abel because Abel trusted him. He was talking with him as a brother. Not Abel did not die as a weakling. Abel died because he trusted his brother. Do you see the coward act of Cain? Cain attacked Abel from his blind side. Abel was talking to his senior brother and he said, as long as my brother is at my back, I don't need to wash my back. My brother can wash my back. Where and what has happened to us? Where is the brotherhood? Where is that blood in us? Why is brother killing his brother? Why is father killing their children? Why are people that you trust betraying you? I know that many people will not like what I'm preaching, but I tell you something, I am not the pastor you will like, but I am the pastor you will need. You will need my message because of the time we are in. When we were growing up, our parents will send us to their brothers for holidays. Today, can it happen again? Because process of time has changed our brothers. If you venture to make that mistake and say, now it's my brother, and send your children, what happened to Abel will happen to your children. They don't think straight again. Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. And Abel died with a shock. When he was dying, he said, it's only me and my brother, enemy is not here. Why should this happen to me? When God saw what happened, God put a call across to Cain. Hello, Cain, where is your brother? And Cain said something that baffled the whole earth. Am I my brother's keeper? Terrible. Abel has died. He was lying down in a pool of blood. But when he heard what his brother said, am I my brother's keeper? His voice came up. He wasn't shocked that his brother killed him. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't dying because his brother killed him. But what his brother said, am I my brother's keeper? The blood of Abel ran and began to complain. Are you kidding me? Excuse me? Is this word coming out of your mouth? Are you my keeper? When our mother and our father born us, you proved to me that instead of me to die, you will die. When we were growing up, there was a time there will be no food. You will leave your own and give me to eat. When we are going to school, when they give me homework and I don't have the solution, you will come and help me. When people will raise hand against me in school, you will come and join to fight and protect me. Excuse me. What are you saying? Are you my keeper? I turned my back and depending on you because I thought you were my keeper. Abel was not able to be consoled. His blood was crying. What did you say, my senior brother? Are you my keeper? Our parents did not have much money. We were poor. I remember that at times the clothes you wear happen to be the ones that I wear. Sometimes if our parents will buy a pair of shoes, you will wear my own and I will go. So far you are happy. We promise one another that we will defend each other. We grew up and people saw us as people that can never leave one another. What has happened to you, my brother, because of the process of time? While the blood of Abel was crying, complaining about what Cain said, then God said to Cain, the blood of your brother is crying to me from the ground. The blood of your brother Abel, you have slain him, but his blood is crying. Do you know something, church? Because of money, because of motor, because of people, you can decide where you are going, but you can never decide where you are coming from. You can make friends, but you can never make brother. You can silence your brother, you can silence somebody, but you can never silence the ground. It is easier to handle the voice of your brother when he is alive than handle the voice of the ground when your brother is dead. Money can never give you a true peace. You children that are killing people because of money, you will